Everyone knows the name Rockefeller. Most people think he just got lucky. Oil boom, wild frontier, a stroke of fate. The truth is colder. Rockefeller wasn't lucky. He was an architect. He built wealth brick by brick while others bragged, gambled, and went broke. He saved when everyone flaunted. He stayed calm while others lost their minds chasing gold. He thought in decades while his rivals thought in paychecks. That's why his name still echoes when most fortunes are forgotten. For Rockefeller, money wasn't the goal. It was a weapon. Every cent had a mission. Every deal was a chess move that would outlive him. No impulsive spending, no ego-driven shows, no sloppy partnerships. Everything fed one idea: build an empire so solid that it couldn't collapse, even if he died tomorrow. Money comes and goes, but the system behind it, that's untouchable. If you're watching this, you're not here to get rich overnight. You're here to build a fortress that outlives you. You want what no influencer, no get-rich-quick ad, no fake guru can sell you. A mindset so disciplined that money bends to you, not the other way around. You want your last name to mean something, like Rockefeller's did, and still does, a century later. So here it is, 7 lessons, no fluffy quotes, no pep talk, just raw truths. If you can stomach them, you won't just earn, you'll build. If you can't, you'll stay a spectator while other people buy your future one bad decision at a time. Rockefeller didn't want worshippers, he wanted rivals. So take these lessons, carve them into your habits and guard them like steel. Wealth isn't magic, wealth is a war plan, and you fight it daily against your own laziness. Let's get started. Lesson 1. Think in centuries, not paychecks. Rockefeller never counted his wealth in weeks or months. He planted trees he knew he'd never sit under, but his family would. While the average man wants to double a paycheck by Friday, Rockefeller put his dollars into pipelines, railroads, and refineries that would keep paying his name for generations. He thought like an empire, not an employee. This mindset is poison to the modern brain addicted to quick dopamine. But it's the only way to build wealth that survives scandals, wars, and greedy hands trying to take what you built. He understood that wealth isn't a pile of quick wins. It's a fortress made of slow, boring bricks. Every time he earned, he reinvested, not in luxury, but in control. He didn't just own oil wells. He owned the pipes, the ships, the rails, the barrels. So he didn't beg for market prices. He set them. Today's amateurs think diversification means owning 10 stocks. Rockefeller laughed at that. Real diversification is owning the entire chain, so no one can squeeze you from any angle. Thinking in centuries means swallowing your ego today to protect your name tomorrow. Rockefeller wasn't the flashiest businessman. He wasn't the loudest. He was simply the most patient. When rivals overpaid, he waited. When competitors bragged, he watched them burn out. Then he bought their scraps for pennies. His reputation for cold patience terrified them more than lawsuits ever could. That's how dynasties are built, by men who don't panic when everyone else does. You want to be respected like Rockefeller? Stop asking, how much do I make this month? Start asking, what foundation am I laying so my kids never have to beg? That's an owner's question. That's a builder's question. Money wants to belong to the calmest hand in the room. The man thinking in centuries owns the man chasing this weekend's hype. That rule never breaks. Not in oil, not in crypto, not in real estate. Fortunes die fast when built on impulse. Next time you feel the itch to buy something shiny, stop. Ask, would Rockefeller approve? If not, drop it. If yes, make sure it's boring, solid, and able to pay you back while you sleep. Wealth is not a Rolex or a Lamborghini for Instagram flex. Wealth is the machine that prints money when your grandkids are old enough to spend it. Rockefeller wrote that blueprint with a dusty notebook and ruthless patience. You can write yours today if you think in centuries, not paychecks. That's lesson 2. Negotiate hard, save harder. Rockefeller wasn't a gambler. He was a sniper. Every deal was dissected, every number squeezed, every loophole closed before ink touched paper. He believed every dollar you keep is a dollar you can command tomorrow. People called him cheap, cold-blooded, ruthless. He smiled and kept saving. Why? Because he knew the world rewards the disciplined and devours the careless. He never cared about being liked. He cared about being too powerful to be ignored. Most people think wealth comes from working harder than everyone else. Rockefeller knew the truth. Wealth comes from saying no more than others dare to. No to overpriced deals. No to lazy partners. No to spending money to impress strangers. He didn't hoard pennies to feel rich. He trained himself to be untouchable when markets turned bloody. He outlasted downturns because he refused to burn cash just to look important. Saving for Rockefeller wasn't a sacrifice. It was a declaration of independence. When rivals drowned in debt, he sat on piles of cash, waiting like a shark in dark water. When a competitor begged for a bailout, Rockefeller didn't flinch. He bought them for scraps and folded their empire into his own. His tight grip turned pennies into millions, not by luck, but by squeezing waste out of every corner of his life. That's not stinginess. That's command. Look around today. People brag about new cars on credit, designer clothes that rot in closets, dinners that drain tomorrow's freedom. Rockefeller would laugh. He knew every dollar you waste today is a chain around your neck tomorrow. He treated money like soldiers. Don't waste them on pointless battles. Keep them alive so they fight bigger wars later. Wars you win before your enemy even knows you're coming. If you want to be Rockefeller's heir in spirit, stop spending for applause. Negotiate like every dollar matters, because it does. Save not because you're scared, but because you're free. Freedom is when your bills are paid by yesterday's discipline. Rockefellers didn't get rich because of luck. They got rich because tight fists beat loose lips every single time. If you don't learn this lesson, the market will teach you the hard way. Lesson 3. Build networks before you need them. Rockefeller knew one man's strength dies alone. His power wasn't just oil wells and money vaults. It was the invisible army of relationships he cultivated long before he ever called in a favor. He didn't wait until crisis to make friends. He built alliances like stone walls, quietly, brick by brick. Bankers, politicians, rival executives, all bound to him not by trust alone, but by the quiet fear that crossing him meant losing everything. His true wealth was not just cash. It was people who protected his throne. He never shook a hand without studying the motives behind the smile. He never signed a deal without planning 3 moves ahead if the partner betrayed him. Loyalty to Rockefeller was worth more than oil. Betrayal was punished so publicly that nobody dared repeat it. That's how he made his name a fortress, not just through contracts, but through human fear and respect. He didn't gossip, he listened, he didn't promise, he delivered. And when he called, people moved. Modern minds forget this. Money is fast, but connections are faster. You can lose millions overnight, but a strong network can rebuild it faster than luck ever could. Rockefeller taught this. Alone, you are a target. Connected, you are a storm no one wants to fight. He didn't build social circles to party. He built them to strike deals, to open doors no bribe could buy. To this day, his name opens doors because he taught his family to guard connections like treasure. Most people today network wrong. They beg when desperate and vanish when rich. Rockefeller did the opposite. He gave value before he needed favors. He showed up when others hid. He remembered birthdays, children's names, quiet promises in the back rooms. When his empire needed defenders, they appeared from every corner, not because they loved him, but because he'd made himself too useful to lose. That is leverage money alone can't buy. Want to copy Rockefeller today? Stop bragging, stop begging, Start building quiet bonds, keep secrets, offer value before asking for help. Pick allies like you pick investments, slow, patient, never cheap. A bank account can drain. A loyal circle grows interest forever. Rockefeller didn't just drill for oil, he drilled into people's ambitions. Then he lit the match when the time was right. That's how empires survive storms that wipe out lone kings. Cheers. Lesson 4. Master your emotions while others lose their heads. Rockefeller's greatest secret wasn't just oil fields or iron contracts. It was iron control over himself. While rivals cursed at boardroom tables or panicked when markets dipped, he sat stone-faced, listening more than speaking, waiting for his moment. Emotion is weakness. That was his law. Rage sells at a discount. Fear sells too soon. Greed buys too high. He weaponized his calm. His enemies bled money, trying to guess what he felt. He felt nothing. He calculated. In every market crash, Rockefeller thrived because he knew panic is just profit in disguise. He bought assets cheap when others screamed doom. He sold high when others lost restraint. Where lesser men drowned in debt and rumor, he walked the wreckage, buying companies piece by piece like a vulture with a crown. To him, the real battle wasn't fought in stock prices. It was fought inside your chest. Win there and you win anywhere. He trained this discipline daily. Small things mattered. He tracked pennies like generals track bullets. He punished waste like betrayal. He knew if he couldn't control buying a simple coat, he couldn't control billion-dollar oil fields. Self-control scales. Lose it once, and you'll lose it when it costs the most. He didn't let anger choose his words. He didn't let envy choose his targets. He didn't let hype choose his investments. He let cold math rule all. Most people today have zero armor. A single tweet makes them panic sell. A bad month makes them doubt everything. Rockefeller would sneer at that. He'd say, if you can't hold your nerve when the sea gets rough, you deserve to drown. Money flees the shaky hand. Money worships the calm. That's why today's wealth jumps from fool to fool and always lands back in the pockets of the man who breathes slow when everyone else hyperventilates. If you crave a Rockefeller-level fortune, build this muscle first, unshakable calm. Bite your tongue when anger burns. Hold your line when fear whispers. Cut deals without trembling. Walk away from deals without tears. The cold mind rules the hot world. Rockefeller proved this so thoroughly that his rivals cursed his name in public but wished they could steal his backbone in private. You can't fake this discipline. You build it by facing storms and refusing to blink. Lesson 5. Invest in knowledge before you invest a dollar. Rockefeller didn't gamble on hunches. He read, calculated, and asked questions until no question remained. He started as a humble bookkeeper, mastering every decimal before he touched oil. To him, ignorance was bankruptcy waiting to happen. He knew the fool who throws money without understanding always funds the wise man who does. He would rather spend hours with ledgers than lose a cent to blind trust. He turned knowledge into armor. Profit was just the reward for his obsession with facts. People today crave shortcuts. Buy this stock, follow this trend, trust this guru. Rockefeller would laugh. He trusted no hype, no rumor. He dissected balance sheets, cornered experts in smoky rooms, listened to both friend and enemy. If he didn't grasp something, he kept his wallet shut until he did. This discipline meant he rarely overpaid and never walked blind into traps. Education wasn't a luxury. It was his secret weapon in a ruthless arena. His knowledge didn't just guard him from mistakes, it terrified his rivals. They knew he could spot a lie in a single number. Slick salesmen avoided him or left humiliated. Rockefeller's mind was a trap for fools who thought they could bluff him. He didn't flaunt degrees, he flaunted results. Empires built on facts, not fantasies. He taught his managers the same. Ignorance was betrayal. You learn or you're replaced. If you want a fortune that doesn't vanish in the next recession, copy this ruthlessness. Before you buy a share, know the business. Before you trust a partner, learn his weakness. Before you bet on a dream, master the nightmare scenarios. Rockefeller's rule: money obeys the mind that commands it with facts, not feelings. The man who knows more always wins the pot, not by chance, but by design. Modern excuses don't fool the market. Your phone is a library. Courses cost less than dinner out. You can learn any industry, any skill, for pennies compared to losing thousands on dumb bets. Rockefeller would sneer at lazy investors bragging they wing it. He'd say, "You don't wing wealth. You build it, stone by stone, number by number. Every dollar you protect with knowledge buys freedom you never have to apologize for." Lesson 6. Build systems that don't need you. Rockefeller knew a true king doesn't command every battle himself. He builds an army that fights for him while he sleeps. He didn't micromanage every barrel of oil. He built pipelines, hired managers, trained men to think and act in his name. While rivals burned out, trying to control everything, Rockefeller made himself replaceable. That's how his empire grew beyond his lifespan. He wasn't the hero in every story. He was the architect who made heroes unnecessary. Too many founders today brag they do it all. That's ego, not strategy. Rockefeller had no time for ego. He documented every process, trusted no rumor, fired any manager who hoarded secrets. He turned knowledge into instructions, instructions into habits, habits into profit. If a manager quit, the system kept pumping oil. If a refinery burned down, the system built another. His wealth didn't depend on his mood or presence, it depended on the machine he built to outlive him. Modern millionaires grind until they collapse. Rockefeller didn't grind, he delegated. He knew time is wealth's real currency. He spent his best hours designing systems, contracts so airtight that rivals cried in court, supply chains so robust they could feed millions of lamps while he played chess at home. His goal wasn't to be busy, his goal was to be free. Busy men brag. Free men buy busy men and their hours. A system is wealth on autopilot. Rockefeller built pipelines to move oil. You build digital pipelines to move cash. He built hierarchies of trusted lieutenants. You build automation and teams that don't choke when you take a week off. He hated surprises, so he built backups for backups. His empire was a fortress of predictable profit. That's why his name survived scandals, lawsuits, and hate. Systems can't be blackmailed. People can. If you want to wear Rockefeller's crown, stop being your company's bottleneck. Fire your pride, hire smart people, trust processes more than moods. Build once, refine forever. If you die tomorrow, your system should keep paying your family. That's wealth. Everything else is just a job with a fancy title. Rockefeller didn't just die rich. He died knowing his money machine would feed generations. That's the mark of a real builder. Drill. Lesson 7. Give back, but on your terms. Rockefeller wasn't a saint. He was a strategist, even in generosity. He knew wealth attracts envy. One way to diffuse it? Philanthropy done with precision. He didn't toss coins for applause or slap his name on charity galas for gossip columns. He built foundations, funded universities, bankrolled research that pushed humanity forward, but always under his control. Every dollar he gave shaped a world that protected his legacy and multiplied his power. He understood that giving is leverage. When critics barked about his monopoly, communities defended him because their libraries had his name. When politicians threatened new taxes, schools and hospitals reminded voters who paid their bills. Rockefeller didn't buy silence, he built gratitude. To him, charity wasn't weakness, it was armor. It turned public outrage into quiet acceptance. That's not cold, that's genius, doing good in a way that secures what you've built. Modern billionaires often donate for headlines. Rockefeller donated to shape the battlefield. He knew a healthy, educated society was good for business. Better workers, smarter managers, loyal communities. Every grant, every scholarship, every research lab wasn't just kindness. It was an investment in stability. He made sure his wealth didn't rot in vaults, but fertilized a future where his family's name stayed golden, even when his tactics drew fire. To copy him today, stop throwing money at feel-good trends. Support what strengthens your foundation: education, health, real opportunity. Give, but give with a blueprint. Build systems of giving like you build profit systems, sustainable, guarded, clear in purpose. A random donation feeds gossip. A strategic donation feeds generations. Rockefeller didn't fear public backlash because he controlled how he gave, when he gave, and why he gave. So remember, wealth hoarded dies with you. Wealth invested wisely, even in charity, becomes immortal. Be ruthless in profit, but wise in generosity. Protect your name by helping others, but never lose control of how help is delivered. Rockefeller didn't erase envy. He made it irrelevant. He didn't beg to be loved. He made it impossible to erase him. That's how you give back and stay untouchable. Be feared, be generous, but always on your terms. Rockefeller left the map. You decide if you follow it. You've just absorbed 7 truths Rockefeller carved into stone while everyone else scribbled excuses on napkins. He didn't write these lessons for dreamers. He lived them for builders. Builders who don't flinch when profits dip. Builders who spend more time sharpening tools than bragging about shiny toys. Builders who can stand alone in a storm and smile because they know their empire isn't luck, it's design. Most people who hear this will nod, feel inspired for an hour, and then run back to short-term habits that keep them broke, small, and dependent on luck. Rockefeller would shake his head at them. He didn't want fans. He wanted rivals tough enough to survive the same fires he survived. That's you, if you mean it. That's you, if you trade quick dopamine for slow granite. Look around. The modern world floods you with ways to waste your money, your time, your focus. Rockefeller's voice cuts through all that noise. Be colder, be clearer, build systems, guard your name, give strategically, think in centuries. If you do this, no scandal, no recession, no rumor can erase you. People will hate you for winning. Let them. The only applause that matters is your bank statement long after you're gone. So take these lessons and tattoo them on your daily habits. Read them again when you're tempted to spend on vanity, when you're scared to negotiate harder, when you're too lazy to learn before investing. Rockefeller wasn't born immortal. He built it one ruthless decision at a time. So can you. Or you can scroll to the next video and forget this ever hit you. Just know, the market never forgets. It eats the weak and feeds the cold-blooded. This isn't motivation. It's a blueprint. The next move is yours, and if you follow it, the day will come when someone whispers your last name in boardrooms the way they whispered Rockefeller's, with fear, with envy, with respect. Now close this video and get to work.